Hi guys, and welcome back to another edition of Inspiration in Isolation. My name is Ray Moanga, and I'm super excited this morning to be interviewing a great dude, a great guy, a great uso, Lucky. Say what's up, Lucky.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Ray.
Man, I've been waiting for a long time to do this. In fact, Lucky got me on a podcast he used to run back in university. And so now the tables have turned. I've switched it on you, bro.
It's a bit weird, but that's all right. We're going to make the most of it.
And so Lucky is, you're based down in the Gold Coast, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Yep.
Right down here on the Gold Coast.
And so give us a bit of a background on what you do, what you currently do, and some of the stuff that you do down in the Gold Coast.
Yeah, so I'm actually originally from Perth in WA. I can't go through any interview without mentioning that because that's my town. So you know how it is, Ray. Yeah, originally from Perth, grew up there my whole life, and then went to Newcastle in New South Wales when I was finished high school to study to become a church pastor, which I now do for a career. I work on the Gold Coast in Narang here as a church pastor. This is my first year, just graduated last year. And yeah, it's where I first kind of met you, was down at college, down in Newcastle, right? You were the chaplain there for a little while, so I had a bit to do with you there. And yeah, it's cool to be up here in colleagues now in Queensland.
Yeah, that's so cool. And so one of the initial the podcast which Lockie ran down at university, he got myself and another friend of mine to jump on, and the topic that he gave us was creativity. And so I thought to myself, man, if one day I ever get to interview Lockie, it'll be about this topic, just simply because Lockie is such a creative dude, super humble as well. Yeah, he's such a creative guy. And what I really love about you, Lockie, is that your ability just to latch onto anything around you and just make it happen, like any sort of creative process. Where does that creativity process come from? Was it learned? What did you have to read it in the book? How did it come about for you?
You know, the more I think about it, it's not really something that I've done heaps, is reflect back on where creativity started for me. I think it started with music. I really wanted to be a musician, and I was taught to play music for free by a guy that went to church with me. I'd had opportunities to play music, to sing, to play drums, and I ended up pursuing music pretty heavily during high school. And was encouraged a lot within that space to not just be playing music and repeating songs that other people had made, but to think creatively as well, and think about how you can not just play the notes that are on the page, but play them in a way that communicates a message to someone. And so it's like putting substance behind what is already like a beautiful piece of music and making it your own. And as I reflect on my time at high school, I played classical percussion. That's what I did. And just doing like different weird things in that space, like learning about Latin music, learning about orchestral music, jazz, just so many different areas. It just kind of has put me into this space from a bit of a fruit salad of different musical experiences, and applying that to creativity. It's kind of shaped a little bit of the way that I view or that I understand this concept, because for me, creativity is it's more about like an attitude that you take to a situation,
right?
The product you get out of it. So it's like I'll look at a situation and be like, most people will kind of make a judgment call about it and be like, okay, this is the situation. Whereas I will kind of ask a question when I approach that situation of like, okay, how can I use what experiences or skill sets that I have to really make the most of this? And so when that comes to like where we are right now in terms of COVID-19, I look at that situation, and rather than saying, oh, well, I have to stay at home, I'm stuck at home this whole time, I kind of naturally have that perspective of, oh, okay, what can I use to really maximize these circumstances for what I want to do, for what I want to achieve, for how can I make the most of this circumstance?
Yeah, I'm interested to know what you said about attitude. How did you realize, when did you come to that realization that creativity was more so of an attitude shift as opposed to just like consumerism or just like trying to produce something for the sake of producing something?
Yeah. I think it's something I realized a while ago, but it's actually only been in the last week that I've had the words put around it to be able to communicate it. And I've been listening to the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And in that book, the author, I believe Robert Kiyosaki is his name.
Yeah.
Could be wrong on that. But he talks about like the attitude of creativity and how it's an attitude where you ask questions in situations rather than just trying to work out what the answer, and like a more black and white sense of thinking. He talks about when you approach a situation, like the biggest asset that you have is actually your brain. It's your creativity. And so when for instance, like at the moment, when I look at this situation, I could say, oh, there's nothing I could do. Or I could actually open up my brain and use my brain, use the skills and the talents that I've got by asking, okay, well, what can I use, or what can I do in this time to really maximize it, to make the most out of it, to get the most out of it, to be the most productive. You know, it's about a mentality of opening up your mind to the possibilities. And it might seem a bit airy-fairy or ambiguous, but I think it's actually really practical as well. And it's something that requires training and practice to do, but it's something that also opens you up to really cool possibilities.
Yeah. Why do you think people's often reservations when it comes to even trying to be creative? Because a saying that people often, say is, oh, I'm not that creative. I don't just have any ideas. Like, how do you speak to people that all of a sudden limit their ability to think outside the box? Oh, it's too hard. I'll let Lockie and Ray deal with the creative thinking. I'll just cruise. What do you say to that?
I think it comes down to the way that we measure success in the space of creativity.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we look at the product itself and we say, okay, this is what success is going to look like if I create. And we don't see the hustle that's gone into creating that success, whatever that looks like. But if we try kind of put that success up on a pedestal and look to ourselves and realize we don't have the skill set, or we don't have the abilities to get us there, then it's easy to be discouraged and believe the lie that we're not creative.
Ooh.
I think the big win in creativity is not so much about the product itself, but it's about like the way that it fuels connection along the way.
Right. Okay.
Like that's the big win of creativity. The big win of creativity isn't about the final product. For me, the big win of creativity is the way that it fuels connection, like primarily between myself and God, because I'm a Christian, and that's where a lot of the source of my creativity comes.
Right.
But also the way that it fuels connection with other people.
Yeah.
Because people are craving authenticity.
Yeah.
And they're craving truth. Yeah. And if you create in a way that's authentic to who you are, that's going to fuel connection between you and someone else in a way that a simple conversation or a simple, sharing of someone else's content, whatever it might be, is going to be able to do. Creativity opens you up to new avenues to connect with people. And that form of connection isn't limited by the fact that we're in isolation at the moment.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm interested in what you said, like, not trying to duplicate what someone else is doing. What are some examples? I'm just thinking off the top of my head. What are some examples of or maybe pitfalls of where people have tried to like do something that's not actually ingrained in them? Are there examples that come to mind? Probably not for yourself, or what that looks like for someone who is going, I need to be creative. Where do I start? How do I start? Maybe I look at that person and do exactly what they do. What are some of the downfalls of that?
Yeah. I mean, I do see it in my own journey, particularly when I started writing music and trying to, record it and stuff. Like I would try and make my songs sound like other people's songs.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part of the journey, because unless you understand like the fundamentals of the field of creativity that you're going into, it's hard to apply them to yourself and how you want to sound, or how you want to paint, or how you want to draw or film and stuff. Like you need to know those fundamental things. That's really important. But it's that authenticity that people really crave in the space of creativity. And unfortunately, people don't really want to see you pretending to be someone else.
Yeah.
They want to see you being wholeheartedly and completely you, because that's what authenticity is about. I often think of this in like the context of faith, because that's kind of the paradigm through which I see the world. And the way I understand creativity and authenticity is that God has created every single one of us in a unique and special way.
Yep.
He looked at the world and thought that it needed one of you. And he's created you to be who you are, because who you are is special to him.
Yeah.
And I think that he's given that desire to see authentically who we are. He's put that in us. It's a desire to see that in other people as well. And believe it or not, whoever's tuning in here, you actually have a unique contribution to make to the world. Now that might be creativity in terms of actually creating content or music or creating something that people can engage with. Or it might actually just be in your workplace. It might be with your kids that God has gifted you in a special way to be creative or to make a contribution there that is authentic to who you are. And so that's kind of what it comes down to in the space of authenticity, that, yeah, it's easy for people to try and recreate what someone else has done, but it doesn't fuel that connection and that satisfaction internally that creating authentically does.
I got a question just as you're speaking. How do you recognize creativity in someone and then trying to draw that out of them? Because I know in your context as a leader, you would see it all the time. And so you're just empowered to go, I just want to bring that best out. How do you bring creativity out of people who think, I'm good? Nah.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I'll be honest. It's not easy. What I look for in people is passion. That's probably the big one. Do you have a passion? Do you have a desire to see something change? Do you see injustice in the world that you want to see made different? And I think every single person has that to some degree within them. They have a desire to see a better world. They have they see things wrong with the world and don't necessarily believe they have the power to change it, but they want to see it change. And I think that's where it starts, because that's the other thing that creativity does. Creativity changes culture.
Ooh, speak into that.
People that and believing and helping them to believe that is part of that motivating force that allows them to create. I think creativity shapes the way we understand culture, because you look at the biggest industries in the world around us in terms of creativity. You look at music, film, TV.
Yeah.
And think it like even like sport, art as well. Yeah. Art, like clothing. Yeah. Like those massive creative industries that shape the way that we function as a society. Like those avenues of creativity shape our culture. And so when you realize that through my creating, I can not only feel connection, but I can change culture. Ooh. It's like a bit of an awareness there of like, okay, maybe my little contribution of designing for instance, in your case, like designing a clothing brand.
Yo,
we're so giddy. Let's go. It's not just that you're doing it to be authentic and it's feeling connection, which it is, but it's actually changing culture. Like there's actually probably a measurable difference in the lives of the people who have purchased that clothing because of the conversations they've had. And it's all because like you just had a bit of a creative idea, you had something that you're passionate about, you put it into action, and now you're seeing it actually make a difference in the lives of other people. And sharing those kinds of stories, I think, wakes people up to the reality that, it's not just about being successful on a global scale.
Yeah.
That your creativity could actually make a difference to your own life, to the lives of your family, to the lives of your friends, to a smaller group of people. But it's that multiplication effect of like, if I influence you and you influence someone in the same way,
right?
All of a sudden, like if that continues to grow and we all kind of influence one person, then it's like it multiplies.
Yeah.
And then it's like an exponential impact that in reality we can't measure.
Yeah.
But creativity is a way for people to connect. And then resulting from that is like a change in culture.
Yeah. I feel like there's another C word coming, man.
I didn't even try. It just kind of happened, but I'm kind of proud of it.
Hey, what are some of the creative projects that you're involved in at the moment? Obviously, like just give us, obviously for those, if you're watching the video, you see that those instruments behind Lachie are not props. He actually plays them.
Yeah.
So what are some of the projects that you're doing at the moment?
Yeah. at the moment, because of the circumstances we're in with my work, I can't obviously be with people. And so one of the things that we're trying to do to fuel connection at our church is we're running like a daily podcast. So it's like a Monday to Friday thing. It's called Central Daily. It's up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So if you're on there, you want to check it out, 4 to 5 minutes a day. Just a little devotional thought from myself and the senior pastor, Mike, at the church. And that's something that's only possible because I've had the experience in podcasting before. So yeah, we're doing that on a personal level. Like I'm writing music again. I'm trying to record. I've kind of got this goal, and I didn't really have it bound to a time, but I want to do an EP.
Yes.
So I want to make music, and I'm really fortunate that a couple of mates up here, they're like sound producers and they have experience in that field. So it's like, I feel like God has really like set me up at this time to create, to spend time being intentional about what I'm creating, why I'm creating it. And that's kind of one of the goals for me at the moment. So that's why it's good having the space to have the instruments behind me here, because I can just pull them out, play some stuff, get on my computer, record a little bit. And kind of, it's slow going at the moment because I am still working full time. But yeah, that's something that's kind of in the works as well. And yeah, what I've found in terms of like music particularly is that the music that people connect with is not the stuff that has the most crazy ideas or the best lyrics or the best mix, but it's actually the songs that connect with them the most and connect with their journey the most. Yeah. And that's why I'm such a big believer in like creating in an authentic way, because reality is it's scary. It's hard to communicate truth through creativity, like to communicate what your experience has really been, because it's like a piece of your heart that you're putting out there. And there's the potential for someone to stomp all over it and say that it's rubbish and not valid. But my experience has been that in most often than not, people are going to look at that and respect it, and not just respect it, but be honest in return and be like, hey, like I've experienced that too. I've been through that. Like I get what you're saying. That connects, that makes a difference for me. And that's why I say creativity fuels connection, because people were able to see those vulnerable parts of you, and it's an encouragement for them to be vulnerable in that space as well.
Yeah. Where have you seen some of your creative efforts impact society? Is there a moment where you're like, wow, what I'm actually doing has a significant impact or has shifted the people around me? What are some stuff?
For me, like there's one time that I think of, and it was literally like me and two friends who were also like writing music at the time as well. And I played this song, which I thought was rubbish because it had like 3 chords. It had 1 verse and a chorus, and he repeated it, and that was it.
Yeah.
But it was probably the most vulnerable song I'd ever written. It was a song where I was like the most honest ever. And I played it for these 2 people. And like one of them like almost started crying, and the other one just didn't say anything. And I was like, was it that bad? No, like that song, like it's just so real, and it's so like it just connects on a heart level with me.
Yeah.
And like I think you need to share it with people. Like other people need to hear this song. And so I ended up playing it at a program called Variety Hour. Yeah. A few weeks later, and that was a program run on Monday nights at college. And it was like people just get up and do a set of music, and I was on that week. So I played this song, and I just had so much feedback from people being like, yo, this is just so connecting with where I am at right now or where I've been. And it's all about like finding identity and purpose, and like searching for those things in everything that is on offer in the world around us. But ultimately, like the only satisfaction and peace and joy and security I found is within the love of God. Yeah. And just singing, putting that thought to a song just connected with people on such a heart level. Yeah. And me being honest with them in that space to say that, hey, I've struggled with this for a long time. And it's a constant reminder that I put into song because I need to sing it to myself over and over again. Like it's actually a struggle that I still have, but it's something that I'm on a journey towards working with, and just having people connect with that. Yeah. It just like inspired me. And like, I just can't help but believe that there's something to being able to connect at a heart to heart level through creativity. Yeah.
It sounds like, that the killer to creativity is fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speak into that for us just a little bit, Lachie.
Yeah. There's like a whole bunch of different fears that like people are going to associate with being creative. There's the fear of like not being good enough. There's the fear that people will judge you. There's the fear that, you're going to uncover parts of yourself even that you don't like, and you're going to have to confront those parts of yourself. But I think, and it's slightly on a different track, but it definitely relates. The biggest killer of your creativity is going to be comparison. But that's like essentially a fear that like, I'm not going to be as good or better than someone else who's in the same field as me. So that's why I say it's still connected. But comparison is such a killer because it takes us away from creating authentically. Because comparison instantly forces us into a mindset of, oh, okay, how well am I doing to be like someone else?
Right.
Whereas creating authentically means that the only person we can rightfully compare ourselves to is who we were yesterday. And that's why I love the hashtag that you use. It's like better than yesterday or something like that.
Yeah.
And I see it, I'm like, yes, this is so good, because that's the only true comparison we should ever make.
Yeah.
Because comparison is only ever fair if you're comparing yourself to someone else who has the exact same experiences, the same circumstances, the same talents, the same skill, the same everything. That's the only time when comparison is fair. If those aren't like the prerequisites for your comparisons, then it's actually not a fair comparison to make at all.
Yeah.
And so that comparison to who you were yesterday, I think, is the only fair one that people can make. And when we allow that fear to cripple us or to discourage us, the world is actually missing out. The world is missing out on seeing who you are and seeing what you have to offer it.
Yeah, that's so true. I want to make that connection. I want to draw the line and connect these dots with comparison and the creativity and connection. COVID is another C word. You used another C word, bro. You used comparison.
Oh, I didn't even try.
So for the person, say, maybe not millennial, probably like your generation, and even younger, how can they creatively contribute to this COVID season? Obviously, because technology and social media, you guys are born into it. I'm sort of fortunate enough to sort of see it introduced. But now, how do we shift from consumerism, another C of social media, to now contributing? Like, how does that work?
Swaps, changing from consumerism to contribution. I love it, mate.
Yeah.
So many C words. This is the best. I think it starts by working out what you want to say. Working out what really inspires you, motivates you, gets you passionate, what frustrates you, what do you hate seeing in the world?
I love that, because often when we think we create, we have to think just the positive stuff. But I love that you touched on that. What's frustrating? What's making you angry and upset? Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So find out what the message you want to communicate. Work out, okay, what is a medium that I want to put some time into? And then it's actually just going to take some time of you putting in the investment that needs to be made. Before I ever shared a song with someone, I've been writing songs for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Before I ever performed a piece for people, I would have been rehearsing it for 6 months beforehand. Like, it's people often see the result, but they don't see the hustle that goes into it. For me at the moment, I'm trying to learn electric guitar. I bought this guitar a few weeks ago and I absolutely love it. This is it here. So good.
Nice.
But like, I don't ever play acoustic guitar. And I was playing like for church, like about a month after I bought it. And so I literally made myself sit down every day and just practice scales and like practice different electric guitar elements that like I hadn't learnt and hadn't practiced. And that like resulted in me playing reasonably well on the day. And people are like, oh man, you must be like, just have like such a natural ability to do this. I'm like, bro,
no idea.
I appreciate your affirmation. But at the same time, it's like, I've put in literally hours of work over the last few weeks to prepare for today. So find like what you want to say, put some time into like investing in your skills, and then like look for people to work with as well. Right. Like I think like collaboration, another C word. There we go. Yeah. It's a huge part of creating as well, because like people are going to be able to bring different skills and different abilities to the table that you're not going to be able to have.
Yeah.
And rather than seeing them as an opportunity for like comparison, an opportunity for discouragement, seeing them as an opportunity to like actually grow your own skills, to sharpen yourself up, to be a better creative yourself, that's going to like take you leaps and bounds in terms of the quality of content you're able to produce.
Yeah.
So like those are kind of some of the big things I'd say to do is like work out the message, pick your lane you want to spend some time in, really put some work in, look to collaborate with people, and finally just do it.
Yeah.
You know, don't just have ideas, like try and put them into action. The best way to learn how to create is to create.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
That's awesome.
The best way to be a better songwriter is to write songs.
Yeah.
And to practice writing songs.
Yeah.
I had a teacher, a percussion teacher, and he taught me something that was, I think, a really valuable lesson when we are learning to upskill ourselves. And he would say that practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Ooh.
And in terms of like emulating other people, I think couldn't be more correct. But as I've thought about it, that actually held back my creativity a little bit, because I was trying to really do things really, really well at every step. And it held me back from just like putting in the hours and putting in the time that I needed to get better in certain areas. So there's like slightly different approaches that we need to take to different parts of this journey. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, there's no substitute for putting your time and your effort into practicing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Creating.
Yeah.
And, hey, we literally have access to resources that are incredible, that are free of charge today, that 50 years ago, young people would have been crying out for and being like, man, I just wish I had an opportunity to record some music or to hear what this sounds like back to me. Like if you have a Mac, like you can literally get GarageBand for free and do that today. Like if you think about how easy it is for us to create, and here's another thing. I think it's become so easy for us to create that it's easy for us to like psych ourselves out of it.
Yeah.
Like things that are really easy to do often are easy to forget as well. Ooh. And so like recognizing that like we have like such incredible resources and tools at our disposal to create, like really the only thing that is stopping you from not creating is either being too busy, which is no longer a problem because we're all at home.
We're locked down.
Or it's being too lazy.
Ooh.
So like, the only person stopping you from creating right now is you. And like I fall into that as well. I've got my computer screen here and I've got my TV right behind. So when I finish work, often I'll shut down my computer screen and go watch TV. When really like that's an opportunity either to invest in becoming a creative or invest in becoming a couch potato. So everything we do is an investment to the people that we want to become. And when it comes to creativity, I think it's really self-explanatory there. If you want to become a more creative person, put some time and effort into realizing that you are actually creative, and then growing and being faithful to that skill set or that talent.
Yeah, I want to throw another word in there. Like the more you create, the more you're cultivating more creativity.
Exactly.
So it's a bottomless pit. People think, oh, I'm only creative for a season or just for one project, or one situation. Oh, I've given all my creative energy and that's it. It's like, no, there's so much depth to our creativity. It's endless.
Yeah, exactly. And that's because like we're constantly going through new situations, new environments. And when you're creating authentically, it's going to be a bottomless pit of resources to create from, because you are constantly growing, you're constantly learning, whether you realize it or not. And creating from that space is actually going to leave you with a bottomless pit of resources to work with.
Yeah.
I have 3 things that I think I want people to do with their like creativity. So can I share them?
Do they start with the letter C?
They don't.
Let's go, bro. Give it to us, man.
I've exhausted my vocabulary of C words. So firstly, people need to use their creativity. They need to grow their creativity, and they need to share their creativity. So those are like the 3 things that I think people really need to be doing if they want to be making the most of this idea of creativity, of their creative medium. And we've kind of talked about all 3 of them, but I just wanted to put that in there because I think it helps to flesh it out a bit. Okay, what does it mean for me to like actively, be faithful with and be faithful to my abilities and my skills?
Yeah.
It means that you use them, that you don't just think about them, you use them, you grow them, and then you share them. And the core of it, I think that's what it comes down to in terms of being creative and being a creative individual.
Yeah, that's super powerful. And I think even with collaboration, I just wanted to touch back on that. What would you say is a criteria or a checklist to other C words? I don't know what's happening this morning. We're just going with the C vocab stuff. What would you say is a criteria or a checklist for collaborating with people that can help you grow in that area?
Hmm. It's a great question. So many C words in there. Just I'd say surround yourself with creatives that are better than you.
Ooh,
Like surround yourself with people that have more experience, have more skill, have more passion, have more whatever it is. Because like like it or not, the people you surround yourself with, whether it be literally in person or like we're doing online,
yeah,
like they're going to kind of draw you in a particular direction, just as you're going to draw them in a particular direction as well. That's what influence is all about. It's about the way that that's culture right there, right? It's the way that we
yeah,
influence each other. But if you're surrounding yourselves constantly with people that are better than you, that are more skilled than you, that have better abilities than you, whatever it is, what you're going to find is that you're going to learn things from them that you won't have learned from a textbook, or that you might have taken 2 years to learn in a textbook, but they'll teach you in 2 minutes of just being with them.
yeah,
And that's probably the big thing that I get people to look for in terms of collaboration. I think also looking for people who are teachable.
mm,
Not that you're going to teach them, but if they have that teachable attitude, if they're trying to improve themselves, they're not going to be selfish with what they have. Like they're actually going to freely give away the knowledge and the skills that they have, because they themselves recognize the value of learning and of teaching. And then the final one, which I think is really important, obviously, is availability.
yeah,
Like finding people that are actually available and are looking for opportunities to invest in other people. And reality is those people can be difficult to find, but when you find them, you'll just find yourself growing exponentially. If I
yeah,
can share like a little story with that for me,
yeah,
um, an area that I really tried to grow in a couple of years ago was leadership. And so I wanted to like grow my leadership capacity, my leadership skills. And I was trying to find a mentor that would really help me. And there was a family friend who worked at the college where I attended, and he was one of the lecturers in the business faculty. Now, I was studying ministry and theology, so I never had him as a lecturer or anything. I just kind of knew him as a family friend from the past. But he had 25 years of experience in leadership, working in conference administrations across the South Pacific, across Australia, New Zealand, in the islands as well. Like he had so much administrative experience. He had some free slots in his schedule, and he was just like a bottomless pit of information when it came to understanding leadership. And so I approached him and I said, "Hey, would you mind just like mentoring me in the area of leadership for a few weeks?" And he said, I've been looking for people to mentor. No one seems to want this information that I've got, but yeah, sure, definitely. I'll give you an hour of my week every week. You bring some questions. I'll give you some books to read. We'll talk about them, and I'll grow your capacity as a leader. And that ended up being a 6-month period that I had mentoring with this man. That 6 months, I grew more as a leader than I think I have grown in the rest of my life put together.
that's
Like I grew so much in that 6 months because I was surrounding myself with someone who was incredibly talented, incredibly skilled in this area. They had a humble heart, and they wanted to teach. They wanted to share this information they had, not out of pride, but because they wanted to upskill me. And then they had that availability aspect to them as well.
Yeah, you know what? I think we went to the same guy.
Probably.
Yeah, he's an absolute legend. He's from Perth, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, the West from the best from the West. Let's go. Um, Lucky, if people are wanting to get in contact with you and just perhaps talk more about creativity, I mean, like you've just dropped some awesome bombs of insight in terms of how we can unpack and lock, and where can they find you on your social platforms? What are your handles?
Yeah. Social media is probably the best, hey. Facebook, Lachlan Harders, that's my name.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy, very creative there. Instagram, I was a lot more creative. My name is _Lockie Harders, so LACHIE HARDERS. So hit me up on there. If you do want email, lachlan.harders@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the best avenues. But yeah, I'd love to get in contact. I'm all for, creating and collaborating and, you know, cheering people on, chuck another C word in there. But yeah, no, super keen to get in contact with people if they want to learn more, if they want to even share stuff with me. I'm still learning in this space. I've got so much area to grow. So yeah.
Well, Lucky, I've got one last question for you, and I purposely stole this one from another sort of mentor person, Ben Lundquist, and he always asks this question on his podcast. He says, "Is there a question that you wish that I'd asked you in this interview? Is there a question that you wish I had asked you?"
I think, why do you create? Because I think ultimately it comes back to that question of why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?
So why do you create?
I create because there's a verse in the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. It talks about humanity being created in the image of God. And God, who I believe is the creator of like everything around, like that, everything we see, you know, we see the incredible parts of nature, of outdoors, like it's insane. And that same seed of creativity from God has been placed in every single one of us.
Yeah.
And so within us, we have access to a level of creativity that is literally out of this world. God is created in us, and we're created in his image as creators as well. So I create because I'm created by one who has a level of creativity that I could never achieve, but he's placed that in me.
Yeah.
You know, and I create because I want to be faithful to that. I want to be who I was created to be, which is someone who creates as well. So that's why I create.
Man, that's so cool. And that'll be an awesome end to our discussion this morning, to our episode. And so again, if anyone's listening and you've been inspired, I definitely am inspired. Like literally after this, I'm going to go downstairs and do some recordings of me playing sport or lifting weights or doing something. And again, just because it's out of my authenticity of wanting people to be inspired. It's not to get likes or followers, but yeah, I'm in sort of in the same boat as you, Lockie. So thank you again for your time. And yeah, anyone be sure to connect with Lockie. He's so much wealth. And again, I love it. He's always saying he's still growing. He's still growing. Creativity never stops, right?
It doesn't.
Never stops. So it's a continuous upward slant for bigger and better things to improve our community. So you know, for those in isolation or those in lockdown, or for those of us who are staying home, take this time to create. So any final words, Lucky, before we sign out?
Don't see what this season is holding you back from. See what it releases you to do.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah, COVID-19, while being a terrible thing that's impacting a lot of people in a negative way, I think one of the ways we can cope with that is not just look at what it holds us back from doing, what it stops us from doing with our lives, but ask ourselves that question of, okay, well, what can I do with this time? What can I do to create, to make something meaningful and purposeful out of this time that I have available to me now?
That is a mic drop moment. Release and be free and create. Thank you once again, Lucky. We'll be in contact soon. Thank you again for listening and tuning in to another episode of Inspiration in Isolation. See ya.
Later.